The following is a fan-based discussion. All properties discussed are property of Toei Inc., Bandai, Hasbro, and Subaru Productions.
Wow, we started this great.
What else is
I
new?
did all the talking last video.
What else is new? We always start them this way.
Keep all of
No
us
one
in.
watches us for quality. I think we've established that 6,000 subs in. You watch us for some reason.
You want
Comedy.
You wait for us to snap. That like right now.
Yeah. Hi, everybody.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Tokutalk. Today's subject will be...
Redemptions.
Yes.
I want to talk about redemptions in Toku. What are some good ones? What are some bad ones? What are some useless ones? There's a difference between those last two, I swear. But today...
Yeah, useless
That's
is somebody who was
so-
redeemed who didn't need redemption.
Who didn't deserve it.
Deserve it or need it. Either way.
But let's talk about redemptions.
Good gags.
Oh, that is my wrist. I want to start off with a good one. And I think, we'll start where we really should with this because that's sort of where it first comes in. I want to talk about Changeman.
Okay. And who was redeemed?
Shima, and to an extent, Buuba. Do not pour it on my goddamn floor.
No. Sorry, I was gonna make a joke about parking on your guy and a computer under here, which would be worse because that's his work computer.
Yep. But yeah, I want to start with Shima because I love how this show was Shima kick. I love how this show was set. I love that so much. I miss I want to go back and rewatch Changeman just so I can see those monsters go in and just their foot. I miss Changeman. But anyway, I want to talk about Shima first because I feel like hers was done the best out of that group.
Mm-hmm.
Or rather, it was done in the way that made the most sense for the circumstances and in comparison to everybody else who was on the bad team. Because she got redeemed really for something that I felt was actually needed for her specifically. Because she was inducted more or less into the bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
After her planet got taken over. She was...
As you do.
Just part of the bad guys, one of the major generals with the deepest of voices. And it worked for her because she didn't know any better. From the thing that where she started to where she ended up, she did not deserve to be a bad guy. That was not supposed to be where she ended up. And I loved how they did Shima in Changeman. I think she has a great redemption arc of she wants to actually do better now because she wants to learn how to be the thing that she was always meant to be, not the things that she was groomed to be.
Okay. Do you think that is what makes a good redemption arc? Out of for any character, regardless.
Yeah, it depends on the situation.
Yeah,
Okay.
It depends on the situation that would quote unquote need redemption.
Yeah, because that whole thing, she, Unicron and
Because then you could
I can't
argue,
remember his
and then if you had like
Optimus Prime.
you could argue there's a redemption in Jetman with.
Oh, I was going to bring that up, but I do want to stick with Changeman just for a second.
Okay, I thought you were done.
Because Buuba.
Right, Buuba.
Mm-hmm.
Buuba was just like, he had no other choice. It was either join them or be killed.
Mm-hmm.
He was a space pirate, yes. So, I mean, he wasn't exactly the best of people, but his redemption came with his death. When he fought Change Dragon. R.I.P. in peace, Buuba. You are the GOAT. But it was just like, Buuba felt there was no other way to get out of this.
Mm-hmm.
He had to fight Change Dragon and try to kill him, but at the same time, Buuba was
Though
just
at
like,
the, the same thing, I don't know if I would. I wouldn't call it redemption with Buuba.
More release.
A release
Catharsis.
or I was also going to say an understanding as to why he made the choices that he made. He didn't switch sides like Shima did.
Yeah.
So he didn't have to earn the trust or earn the redemption. No. He just went down fighting with honor. I don't know if he qualifies as a redemption.
I would actually agree with that.
Acceptance? Would that be a better
That's
term?
yeah, I can get that. I can get behind that. Redemption is pretty much having to atone for what you did and then be better. Make the change towards the better. But he didn't have to because he died.
He didn't really have to. I love how they actually sort of explored like the sort of peaks and valleys in Changeman with that. Because you had Guluk, who tried to take over and got killed for it. You had Ahames, who went crazy and tried to kill everybody and died for it. You had Buuba, you had like the little helper guy whose family was being held captive, so you had no choice but to help them. Help the bad guys until they got free. And you had Shima. It's just like you had those peaks and valleys, and I think they really did that perfectly in that show, showing there's all sort of different shades to this situation.
But to go back towards this and the fact that it's a different situation, you have Jetman. Black needed redemption because he was an asshole for the majority of the show, but he atoned for his mistakes, admitted they were mistakes, and made the changes towards the positive. And he also still died. But anyway, that wasn't his death. Wasn't his redemption. It was the relationship he built with his team and the trust to the point where wasn't he the best man at the wedding, or was he just a guest?
I don't know
who else would be at the.
I don't know what style.
I feel like they were all treated with equal importance.
I don't know if Japanese style weddings have that, but I think they also did a Western style wedding.
There was a Western style wedding. You could tell by how they were
in
dressed.
Wedding dresses,
yeah.
Traditional kimono.
But that man became Red's brother by the end of the show, and the fact that this is a day about you. Let's not talk about my stab wound. Is redemption. Because he was very selfish, self-centered, it's all about me type of personality at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
That is redemption.
I love the fact that they sort of had the opposite of that with Radiguet. Remember that episode when he turned human, briefly? You would think that with something like that and the girl that he was with throughout the entire episode, that he would have just turned good for some reason, or at least at the end of the show had something that would have helped him just like beat the Empress. No. He turns back in the same episode and kills her. They really did
People can't be redeemed.
They baited and switched you. Because you were just going off of tropes even at that point.
Yeah.
Going off of tropes, just like, oh, he's going to becoming a good guy. Nope, still evil. Kills the girl, goes back, kills everybody else pretty much.
Kills the girl.
I want to talk about Liveman.
Okay.
Yeah. Here we go.
Where shall we begin?
Specifically with
mass murder.
I want to talk about in that situation where the two people, like the two other friends, are killed. Go and Mazinda were the only two who didn't actually fire any shots. It was Kemp.
Right.
Kemp was the one that killed them. And then you had like all those people who ended up dying at throughout the rest of that episode. And at the same time, you could, I'm not going to say argue in this case, but you always got the feeling throughout the rest of the show that Go and Mazinda never really had the same goal that Kent did. Especially when you end up figuring out things.
I feel like they did, but maybe they just didn't want to dirty their hands as much.
Yeah. Yeah, because I always feel like Kemp and Bias and I'm not going to say Greg because I can't exactly.
Well, Bias especially because he was the mastermind.
He was the absolute bad guy. Dr. Ashura got there. He died. It was really his own fault. But Gash, that's his name. But with Mazinda and Go specifically, Dr. Obelar, what is the word I'm looking for here? Because he was the only one who really came up with his hands clean. He didn't really go out and actually like mass murder anybody.
Manipulated?
He didn't manipulate. That was his thing.
He was playing chess, not checkers.
But he wasn't above redemption as we saw when he actually, the second time he reunited with Joe after he tricked him the first time, and then Joe still believed in him. And Dr. Obelar was basically absent for a lot of the rest of the show. And then you have somebody like Mazinda who was just like trying to be the best that she could be. Then she found out what Bias was doing with his previous disciples.
Right.
Still the best episode of that show, by the way, of her running away. That was amazing.
I was wondering if you were going to bring that up again.
He always does.
It's a great episode.
It is a great episode.
And, her putting her brain so he couldn't get to it.
But he'll never bring up Vega Baby.
We don't know what that is. But Mazinda is just...
Hashtag redemption for Vega Baby.
We don't know who that is still. But yeah, I felt like Dr. Obelar
redemption for green single mother.
Dr. Obelar and Mazinda had really the only way to get a sort of redemption in the show. Mazinda didn't want anybody to take her personality or her brains away, so she turned herself into a robot. Still died. But Dr. Oblar was the only one who... It was sort of set up because of the fact that we got the whole thing with his mother. Where his mother always continuously pushed him. So it was a lot of outside influence on sort of the way that he reacted when he felt like he wasn't being good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he got out, it was just like, his story is sort of over, and he is redeemed in that he basically betrayed them.
Mm-hmm.
You're just like, there's nowhere else I can go. The Livemen will help me, and they did.
Mm-hmm.
And they got him out, and unfortunately, we really don't know what happened to him afterwards, but his hands were clean. He didn't go out and mass murder anybody.
And that's probably the main reason why they let him live.
Yeah. Because again, you had those peaks and valleys. You had the people who got out, the people who took the thing into their own hands, but you had Kemp who gave his brain up.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
but even I think Liveman raises an interesting question of when does a character take it too far where they can't be redeemed anymore? Because I don't think there is a strict right or wrong answer. It really comes down to what the individual's preference is for how the story is, for how this story and how this character is being handled.
Shadow Moon, I think, is another example. Yeah. Shadow Moon from Black. We don't talk about what happened after, but Shadow Moon from Black.
Because a character can do, utterly despicable things. They can kill We've seen examples of characters killing lots and lots of people, but in the end they are redeemed. Usually at the cost of their own life, but they're still redeemed.
Aberray Killer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he still went to hell. But it's a joke.
But he died.
It was a joke.
I know, but it's just like he redeemed himself.
I mean, he seemed okay with it.
Yeah.
Now,
but he came back.
Have the characters... Are there any good redemptions in Kamen Rider? Because we haven't really talked about Kamen Rider that much.
Oh, we haven't.
I don't think Kamen Rider really does the redemption arc very often.
I would say a character like Ankh.
Yeah.
A character like Ankh who from the start, the way he is using Eiji as a means to an end, and his redemptive arc, I feel, encompasses the entire show.
Yeah.
Because, it's playing the long game, and I think Oz did it very well, where the way he's manipulating him from the start, and eventually, like when he gets his full body back, turns on him, but then realizes he's made a mistake, comes back to his friend, and then in the end sacrifices himself so that he can defeat Dr. Maki, thank you.
Yeah, but I mean, there's not a lot of other examples in Kamen Rider.
Yes, actually there are.
Really?
Chalice from Blade.
Oh, yeah.
That was pretty much his whole thing, was just a very long redemption arc, being the Joker, who basically, did the most killing.
Now,
let's face it.
Right now we're only discussing good redemption stories. We will get to bad.
Chalice, I felt like, because of that whole thing with the girl I hate, but that whole thing where he tries to become a better person.
When you say the phrase "the girl I hate," you're going to be much more.
The little girl.
I was just making it.
But yeah,
there's a lot of those.
For anyone unfamiliar,
she was very. He was very specific in how his redemption worked.
Okay.
He tried to become more human and tried to save everybody at the end of the day. Unfortunately, it had to go to Kinzaki to do that, but that's because they needed balance in that world. That was that whole thing. It's like you have to strike some sort of balance in between the two, but at the same time, he was redeemed because he was no longer the destroyer.
Mm-hmm.
It did get taken out of his hands, but that's the way the show was set up. Genma, Dan Kuroto from X-Aid. Although, to be fair, he was never really redeemed. He just became less of a bastard man.
Now, let's talk about bad redemption stories. Because there's gotta be a few of them.
The two from Kyoryuger. Lucky Euro and Candelaria.
They just sort of decide to not be bad guys at the end of the show.
Yeah.
Not really through anyone's outside influence and not through any kind of organic growth. They just sort of decide to.
Well, it was. I'm not denying that it wasn't random. But you also got to remember these two, especially Candelera. Her entire thing was about bringing joy to people. When that is your goal in life, it's hard to be a bad person.
I mean, she certainly succeeded in
making
life miserable for a lot of people.
Yeah, it was a goal of bringing joy amongst everything else and just forgetting everything else.
I mean,
which led to a life of, I guess, stoicism.
I guess I'll take back what I said earlier, and I'll say this because
that's not the word.
Candelera and Lucky Hero, they were pretty close on the team.
Stagnation.
And towards the end of the show, the big bad straight up tells Lucky Hero right to their face, "I don't need you anymore. Be gone from my sight." And that was the catalyst that really started it off.
It is, and it was less of a we should be good now. We've done wrong. It was more fuck him. Let's go kill him. It was less of
it was redemption out of spite.
It was, which is honestly kind of hilarious and works with the tone of that show. I mean, it really just works. I do still enjoy her trying to snap because to me, like trying to do the Torin snap, because to me, I'm reading way too much into this for subtext that isn't there. She won't be able to do it.
But that's what we do as fans.
Yeah. She won't ever be able to do it because she's never going to be good. Because she's doing things out of spite or doing things because she thinks she has to. Torin was a symbol for good, which is his symbol for it. I don't know. Like I said, subtext that really isn't there, but I don't know.
I'm trying to think of some
That's the thing about art. You can interpret it.
I feel like there's a few bad ones in...
I keep wanting to talk about good ones because there are a lot of good ones.
I've got a bad one in Kamen Rider I would like to talk about.
Go ahead.
And that's Makoto and Ghost.
What? Something bad in Ghost? How dare you speak such blasphemy?
Shocking, I know.
Especially
how
when you have...
Sorry, his reaction was just priceless.
Especially when you have Elaine on the other side of that, who actually had a good one with the grandma.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say...
I mean, multiple people throughout Ghost, but Makoto especially, because I mentioned this in the review, nothing felt like it was given the time that it needed to either be fleshed out or rest up enough, because when Makoto turns good again, we never got that moment of recognition. We never got that moment of apology. It was just like, it's like, wait a minute, I brought your sister back, and he's just like, yay, I guess I'll fight for you now. And that was kind of it.
Well, didn't they know each other before?
They were childhood friends, but like I said this in the review as well, it needed an episode where we had to mend the bonds that were broken.
They just sort of...
This is one of the things about Toku as a whole, not just Ghost.
Quick to forgive.
But Toku as a medium as a whole, where every episode we've got to have a fight scene, we've got to have an action scene, we got to show off something new, got to have a henshin, got to do whatever. It needed an episode where we just sat back and repaired the bonds that were broken. You need to reflect on what's happened. You need to formulate some way to atone for the mistakes you've made.
I think, really enough, they do sort of flip that on his head with Dan Kuroto, because even though he comes back, they basically imprison him. And that's his whole... He's been imprisoned throughout the second half of that show, because it's like, no, I understand that you're trying to help us, but you're still...
A bastard man.
A bastard man. You're still not a good person. You have to atone, which he does in his movie.
Also, there's so many more redemption arcs we're missing. Like,
I want to talk about two. Can I talk about two?
Go ahead.
Two in specific, and they're sort of... I'm going to say they're not minor, but they are sort of big in the full scheme of things. Kamen Rider Tiger from Ryuki with his ending. Because he saves that boy from getting hit by the truck.
I was wondering if you were going to bring this up, and I was going to ask, do you think that's redemption, or is that just him finally fulfilling his dream of being the hero?
Well, I think it's redemption because of all the bad things that he did prior.
But this is kind of going back to Buuba. It's not really redemption. He didn't have to put in the work. He did one thing and then he died. It's redemption is not something...
It's something that you sort of had to work towards?
Yeah. Because, I mean... I made it so goddamn long into this video.
I know. Okay, here we go.
Go ahead.
But in my opinion, the paradigm of redemption arcs in any medium I've seen thus far is Zuko from Avatar The Last Airbender. He didn't just walk up to the gang and went, hey guys, I'm good now. And they went, awesome, teach me firebending. No. They told him, fuck off. And then it took half of that season for him to build a bond with the whole group. Redemption takes effort. You don't get to do one good thing, die, and go, he was a good guy all along. Fuck no.
Again, I think that's a very specific example, though. When it really depends on the story you're trying to tell.
I know, but
because if I could bring up another Western example, Darth Vader. How many people did he kill?
Too many to count.
Yeah, he kind of blew up a planet.
Yeah,
killed millions of innocent people.
I've never said Anakin Skywalker was.
I'm not saying you
bastard man.
I'm not saying you said anything, but my point is his redemption comes in the final 20 minutes of Return of the Jedi. All the bad deeds that he had done up to that point over the previous 5 films.
See, I wouldn't call it I wouldn't call it a full redemption. I would call it an epiphany. I would call it the moment where he realized he's done wrong. Redemption, that moment is the beginning of the track to redemption. In my opinion, redemption is an effort. You don't get. Yes, he killed the Emperor, but I also think that Anakin redemption came through the later movies as well because he was still kind of around as a Force ghost. But that is an argument.
He's Hayden Christensen.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you.
See, in terms of what qualifies as redemption, I don't think.
What do you think qualifies as redemption then?
Atoning for your sins and making the effort to atone for all of them, and like I said earlier, atoning for your sins, atoning for your mistakes, and making the effort to change yourself for the better.
Darth Vader did that though. I'm just speaking on my opinion.
I'm comparing it to that. One action does not redeem what could be argued as a lifetime, decades of mass murder, slaughter, and being evil. It's just...
Again, it also comes down to the individual.
Yeah, those young say hi. I got a Toku example because I think it actually works better for the one that you're trying to make.
Skywalker, the best imposter ever.
Sphinx from Magiranger.
Okay.
The fact that she actually took the time, she was still trying to stop the Magirangers as she did, but she actually really wanted to talk to them a lot. That's sort of where the whole about face came from with Dagon.
I part of me wouldn't call that redemption. Part of me would just call that trying to.
Well, no, it leads into the redemption because at the end they sort of set up that whole magical council, and they're actively working together to sort of bring both sides in a more straightforward motion. I love the way that Sphinx does it because she actively takes the time to go out and learn from these people. She's just like, all right, maybe what we're trying to do isn't the best thing. What can I do to make up for the wrongs that I have caused? Let's go ahead, start the council, and move forward together. And I love... That's why I don't talk about Magiranger a lot, but I love the characters in it. I think they do a very good job with setting things up and just actively, just like if this person is going to be redeemed, we're going to go ahead and actually try to redeem them. Yeah, like the whole thing with Hoka and the Cyclops, just like he tried to become a good guy because he didn't want to hurt anybody. That was his whole thing. He was that good monster, and then they used him as a sacrifice. And I think that was also the turning point for Sphinx because she saw that she was just like, "What's the point? Why did any of this need to really happen to bring back Enma?" And then she sees just how bad of an entity that he really is. That they're sort of worshiping him because that's all she knew. At least she went out and actually tried to learn and go forward and do something good for once. And I love that about her.
Okay.
It just kind of goes back to the whole thing of one act of goodness doesn't redeem a life of badness.
I don't think that that's true. It really depends on how the story handles it.
It also depends on how
it depends on how the story handles it. I really think it does. Whether or not it redeems it for the character, that's left up to the audience. That's left up to the individual who is consuming the show. Because art hits everyone in different ways. When it comes, as far as the story is concerned, that person may be redeemed, but the audience may feel differently. And that's why I think it is pretty much a gray area as what does count as a redemption.
I think it really depends on like what actions did they do that were bad. Like just in that category of bad. How bad on a scale level?
Because redemption, there's a difference between I shoplifted, but I returned it, I am redeemed. Between I've committed genocide, and then I killed my boss. Sorry to go back to Vader, but I killed my boss who told me to do it. Yeah.
Well, he did.
Thanks, episode 9.
That's what he means. So I threw my boss off a cliff who told me to commit genocide. Doesn't change the fact that I committed genocide. In the eyes of the majority, Darth Vader is not redeemed.
Who are you talking about exactly?
The entirety of the cosmos. Everybody except anybody who's not.
Okay, I didn't know if you were talking about the fan base or the.
No, I'm talking about within the story itself.
Okay.
I'm not saying that I'm not saying Anakin Skywalker is still a bad guy. I'm not. He is a good guy. He made the effort to change sides.
Now, you could even say the same thing about Aubrey Killer.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
But he never put in the work to atone for everything he did.
You say that, but you also have to remember it's a different story. This is a story where hear me out.
I think you and I are having 2 different arguments.
Well, you keep on bringing up time, like you're putting in the effort. He did put in the effort. It's just he died almost immediately afterwards. And as a result, it's like he didn't have the time because that's what the story was. And it seems like you're trying to apply the way it works in other stories to something else.
I'm trying to...
Sorry if I'm just rambling on and just arguing about something that's completely irrelevant.
Here's a big one.
Sorry about that.
Let's talk about Gekiranger.
Okay.
Because we have, Ryo and Melee.
Mm-hmm.
They were the 2 who really got that redemption when they did. I will say they did bad things, but they never actively went out and killed anybody from what we saw.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that happened with Ryo in the past, I'm trying to remember who killed John's dad. Who killed Kenji Owa?
I don't remember.
Because if I'm remembering this incorrectly, please let me know. I'll go ahead and get it up right now. But I'm not 100% sure that he was the one who killed, let's see, it was Dan. Fast Dan. Oh, yeah. Ryo didn't kill Dan.
Mm-hmm.
Dan was mortally wounded prior to them fighting, and Ryo thought that he killed Dan. It was never his fault. And of course, Melee was just always, Ryo's not. But at the end of the day, they sacrificed themselves to give the Gekirangers a chance to actually go and beat Long.
Mm-hmm.
I think their redemption, because of the actions that were prior, were more or less outweighed by the good that they tried to do at the end of their story. It's just like, they fought a couple people. They did try to take over the world, but nobody really died because of it.
Mm-hmm.
Then they sacrificed themselves to try to stop the, mad, hilarious Dragon Man.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Ryo and Melee have a very good just redemption arc because of that. Where they
mm-hmm.
ended up, you could sort of tell, especially when you see it through the eyes of John,
mm-hmm.
who came into this sort of after the fact. He doesn't see them as evil people. It was more misguided.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sort of what Master Shafu and the others saw them as too. And that's really where they ended up.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Nice. I got another one I would like to bring up.
Mm.
Matt, I would love to know what you think about this one as well.
Mm-hmm.
Michi from Gaim.
Ooh.
How do we feel about how that one was handled?
I feel like his redemption was being more done post-show. So
I wouldn't say it was done post-show. I think it was done off-screen because it was a time skip.
That's what I mean. It wasn't done on. By the way, I'm not even kidding. I'm looking up the actual definition of redemption.
Fair enough.
Because I think where our disagreement is coming from is how we are defining the word redemption.
Okay.
Where the action of being saved from sin, error, or evil, but the action of regaining or gaining possession of something in exchange for payment. I think you and I are arguing about 2 different definitions. I think what you're arguing is the being saved from evil. What I'm arguing is paying for what he did.
Okay.
And one act of goodness does not pay for a lifetime of evil.
Okay.
So I think that's where our definitions of redemption differ. And like with Michi, that's what he's doing. He's paying for what he did. Mm. And I think the issue with Michi is that's done off screen. I was going to bring up Baron. But I don't know how redeemed he was by the end of the show.
I don't think he was.
Yeah, being dead. No.
Rancic.
I was going to bring up Rancic.
Okay, yeah.
Rancic, though how rushed it was in the team up, his redemption was through the course of the end of Time Force, between the team up and after, because he turned himself in.
Yeah,
and
which is still, it's an amazing scene after he sees what this is doing to his daughter. He's just like, oh, I've gone too far.
It was in that moment that he realized
he fucked up. But just like he legitimately realized that he went too far. Oh, I have to dial it back. I'm going to go ahead and turn myself in.
Time to go to prison.
Yeah, but it's just like in the next one, he sacrificed the mutant part of him.
Well, he was attempting to sacrifice his life.
Yeah.
He didn't jump in going, this will make me human! No, this will make me dead, is what he meant.
Yeah.
So.
I'm just picturing Rancic saying that now. And
yeah.
It's just like with everything that he did to Frax, and a lot of other people based on the list of crimes that we know that he did.
No, he's still a bastard man.
He's still not a good person. You're going back to jail. So, yeah, you help, but
But then you can also argue, did the mutation, and I know once again I'm digging way too much into it, did the mutation affect his brain? And maybe that's why he was so angry at the world. But that's a whole other
mutants,
argument.
Charles!
That's a whole
Neither here nor
other
there.
argument.
And then you got like, I hate instant redemptions. I hate instant redemptions so much.
See, that's
and you know what I'm going to bring up?
What are you going to
Rita and Zed. Instant redemption. Zordon dies. The human blast.
Okay, first of all, that's such a weird example
Outlier.
for instant redemption.
Yeah.
Because I would go back to fucking Darth Vader for that, because that's an instant redemption. They literally had the evil taken out of them. I wouldn't call that a redemption. I'd call that as a major character.
That is a forced character change if ever there was one.
It's not. What's the fucking word for it?
Reprogramming?
No. When you go back and change something go back and change canon.
Revision?
Retcon. That is a forced magic retcon bullshit, if I've ever seen it. And then let's not even talk about the fact that she's the good witch in Mystic Force.
Yeah.
But didn't she lose her magic?
Magical Soga, man. She's always magical.
Shut the fuck up.
I mean, in Magiranger it was different because it was a different character.
Yeah.
But
No, but
they ended up tying it in Mystic Force.
And then they tied it together.
Yeah, I'm specifically referring to Mystic Force, and they were like, Rita's a good witch now. No. Fuck you.
Where's the house?
And then,
Dorothy!
Yeah.
I'll take Toto.
I'm just trying to think.
You have enough dogs.
So many other ones that have come along. I would say Nada and Ryu Soldier, but he died immediately, so who cared?
Instant redemption.
Apparently not you.
It was just bad. It was just really bad how it was done.
And then Red's like, you killed my friend. You've known him for
5 minutes.
Apparently that's all it takes.
To get your battleizer. Because let's be real, it was a battleizer.
I'm trying to think. I sort of hope Kyoryuger doesn't do this with the uncle. And I feel like they're sort of setting it up so there's no way that can happen. As long as they end up sticking to that, because
they already had an episode where he tried to pretend to be good and shit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't want them to do it again, because it would be repetitive, one. And two,
it'll retcon that episode.
I wouldn't say it'll retcon that episode, but it's just like it's already been done before, but just had a different outcome. And I don't want to see that twice in the same show.
Fair enough.
They might be trying to do it with the secretary, new general lady. But because of her whole thing with Yellow, but I guess we'll end up seeing there. But yeah, there are a lot of good and bad. I'm not going to say as many bad redemptions, just because they tend. I guess at that point, it's just really how are you going to end up weighing this redemption?
Good or bad redemption more depends on your personal definition of redemption.
Yeah,
and how you define someone being redeemed. I think it depends on what they need to be redeemed for will determine how much redemption they require.
Mm-hmm.
But there's not. Yeah, I honestly thought there would be.
They're going to do what they think is best for the story, and it's up to us to decide whether or not it was the right choice.
Yeah, because sometimes they'll just try to make you gain sympathy for bad character and the things that are happening to him, like Escape from Go Busters, because all of that was done to her by Enter by the end of the show.
Mm.
There's a difference between sympathy and redemption.
Yeah. Sometimes it really straddles that line in Toku,
Mm.
but at the same time, it could be done a little better in some cases.
Yeah, that's good. A lot of things.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, let us know what you think. What are your favorite redemptions or least favorite redemptions in Toku? In the comments below.
Follow us on all the things. And
Yes.
as always, we love you guys, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.